Hi, Anti-Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are checking out NMIXX Roller Coaster. I had to think there for a second, but I'm excited for this. I feel like I don't entirely know which direction we're going to go in because NMIXX, the vocals are going to be great, but in terms of what we're talking about in the song, I'm not really sure. Roller Coaster kind of leaves things open, but we had some references in the previous song with Party O'Clock to Back to the Beginning with OO. Is that again how you pronounce their first song that came out? So I'm interested to see how we all weave some of the storyline of these two music videos together. But first, we listen to the song. Roller Coaster. I feel like the only thing I'm thinking of is it's a ride, but it's also scary. There's like ups and downs. Like usually when we say something is a roller coaster, it isn't necessarily like positive. There's a little bit of overwhelm to it, but it could also be like a fun time. I don't know. I think it also links with some of the coming of age story that is in a bunch of their stuff, or like holding on to childish like whimsy while also accepting that growing up is inevitable. So it might be some of that too. Like I think of like amusement parks makes me think of youth anyway. Okay. Will stutter. Okay. Ooh, wait, okay. I don't want to give too much about me being like, hey, this is the sound of the song, because who knows with NMIXX, right? But I love this kind of like softer sound. Maybe like doing city pop? I don't know. I don't know genres very well. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I just listen to music that I like. I don't entirely know where the genres are, especially again with NMIXX. Who knows which genre we're going to end up in? But I like this kind of softer sound, having like the breathier vocals. I really love that little like ascending vocal melody that we have with do right again, lyric videos being what they are, not to completely trust, but I like that it still has these kind of staccato synths that are going on, contrast with some of that breathier voice where the melodies slide together. There's something smooth about them, right? And then having those kind of staccato, like plunky sounding synths is something a little bit like magical. Again, we're leaning into some of that imagery with a bunch of their stuff, but especially with, it feels like with this comeback, at least with the like Midsummer Night's Dream reference, right, with the title of it. So something that's magic bleeding into reality and stuff like that. I also like this like chemistry you react, a chemical reaction being like these two things like mixing together and there being a reaction. I think that's a fun little thing. Maybe we're doing something about a relationship or something. I don't know. Again, I feel like a lot of the time when we get songs that are like, hey, this is a relationship song, I feel like there's always wiggle room to be like, and other stuff. I think that you can talk about a relationship in a lot of different kinds of ways and like a love for something in a lot of different ways. So who knows? I don't have enough context yet. Love the softer vocals though. Like I think it's just obviously the vocals, but we have the backing vocals coming in too that are just like these really soft, airy sound. Gorgeous. I love that melody. Ooh, I love that. Ooh, okay, I know that I'm interrupting. I know that I am, okay, for the drop, but I'm like, I gotta get my thoughts off. Okay, first off, the like Rabbit and Alice already had the Alice in Wonderland stuff, right? We've had like more obvious references with, was it like the Cheshire Cat stuff before? But I like that we're getting a bunch of different things. So we have that, we have Romeo and Juliet. Goodness, do I have a lot of thoughts about Romeo and Juliet as someone who has not only actually read that play, but I was also in a production of it before. Nobody understands what that story is actually about, but I feel like it does actually connect with this because there's a bunch of stuff within in that story that's like coming of age and realizing the complexities of demystification that comes with coming of age when you look at the world and your family and your upbringing, and you can see it as something more than just the protective bubble that you grow up in when you're like a kid. That moment you realize that your parents are like people. Before that, you're like, yeah, they're my parents. As like a kid, you're like, yeah, they like support me. They like, they should be taking care of me. Like, I know that it's more complicated depending on the family dynamic, but like you have a parent or a guardian and you're like, yeah, like they look after me. Like that's their job. And then you get old enough that you're like, oh, you're a person with like hobbies and interests and also were a kid once and you have like stories. You get to a point where you're like, oh, you're a full human being as complex as me. And you like start to realize that's what a lot of people are. And I feel like there's a lot of that within like the Romeo and Juliet story. So I feel like also in line with some of the coming of age stuff that they have, or like this, again, like the magic and reality kind of crossing over and realizing that there's more going on. Obviously, there's also like the Romeo and Juliet like romance storyline or like star-crossed lovers side of it as well. So with like Beauty and the Beast, of these two like different people that like shouldn't cross over. There's a little bit of like enemies to lovers vibes with that, right? And then eventually there being like a understanding between these like two sides, right? I think that's fun. And I also love that we had, again, that like ascending melody was really nice. And then we have some of these falling ones, which again, that like roller coaster of like rising up in the fall. And that's like the whole point of roller coasters, like the ups and downs. The most exciting part of a roller coaster is that like initial anticipation of that first rise, right? Where like you're slowly ascending to that first drop and there's so much anticipation. If you like them, which I do, I like roller coasters, there's that like kind of giddiness and there's so much of that like build up and lead up. And I think that might be some of what they're tapping into with this song, of the anticipation of what is going to happen. What is the fall going to feel like when we're talking about like falling in love or falling for somebody or having feelings for someone, or that moment, that giddy moment of like right before it happens where it's like they talked about like that feeling in like their chest or whatever. Yeah, like the bounce my excited heart, right? Where to bounce my excited heart, of being like, I don't know where to like kind of point to this, or I feel that kind of excitement or giddiness in my chest before I actually know where to point it to or like what the fall is going to be. So I think that's like a fun image to have in this as well. Beautiful. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, beautiful. Ooh, so many things. First off, I love the sound of this like softer sound. It's just so nice. I also love all the layered vocals coming in because again, the whole image of a roller coaster, like the ride, having all these soft vocals like feels very much like it is, I'm assuming like a city pop or whatever, but it feels like something you would listen to in like a car, right? Like it, I have that feeling of windows down, driving in a car, like enjoying the ride of it and not thinking too much about it. That being in line with the image of a roller coaster. I'm not worried about like where I'm going to end up or like what's going to happen. I'm just like want to enjoy the feeling of it, the like the adrenaline, the giddiness, the kind of losing myself in this feeling. And I'm not going to think about the long term or whatever, right? Like this isn't about thinking something is like going to last forever, live happily ever after. Even like the reference to Romeo and Juliet is like the star-crossed lovers, like fun, giddy, let's just run away feeling, as opposed to like thinking of the consequences of that decision, right? Like the kind of youth of that. And I love having all those like layered soft vocals, all these little held notes that they're putting in, just gorgeous. I loved this one part with Hyun, I think, where it was like the like going down and she had this little break in her voice when she like shifted down into like her chest voice. I think that's just such a beautiful way to do that. Like one, it sounds gorgeous, but two, it like fits with that roller coaster imagery again of that sudden drop, right? Having that little break is this kind of like tipping over that kind of like breaking point. And I think that's a really fun thing. I also love the shooting stars, like making a wish. And again, that whimsy of childhood, of I can just make a wish and have something something come true, or like hope that something will come true. I think that's really fun. I also love the like and then we go right into like shooting star, right? Like the transition of that is really fun. And I also love that we have this kind of like shush of I don't know what's ahead, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't want to like have a whole conversation about what's gonna happen. It feels like I'm like I just want to get on the ride and enjoy the giddiness of it. I just want to enjoy like the feeling of like being on this roller coaster, and I don't want to think about consequences. It's just like you think of again like a ride or an amusement park of just being like I want to live in the fantasy, right? We all know when we go to an amusement park, we're suspending our disbelief and like enjoying the like atmosphere of it, right? Like you're there to have fun, and you're not there to think too deeply about what's going on or the outside world or whatever. Like you're in this bubble of let's play pretend and just have fun and have a good time and not think about all of the nuances of it, right? Also love the lower range there. I love the repetition too, like the stutter. It was Soyeon. I wasn't expecting us to just be like continue, but I think that it fits really well to keep going. When NMIXX, they're always going to surprise me with something that they're doing. They're like song structure. Those are just guidelines, and we choose to ignore them when we feel like it, which, hey, I'm here for it. Do something that surprises me. I'm always here for that. But I think that it also fits really well with the song and like roller coaster of being like, I don't want to focus on the details or whatever. Like, I just want to keep going. So it feels in line with that narrative to be like, and now we're back to the chorus because that's the fun part. Now we're back to just like continuing forward. Don't think about it. We're just like rushing into something because it's fun and I don't want to think about it too much, right? So I think that it fits really well with that. Here's vocal in the back. This is my favorite part. Ooh, I also love that like stop is so high up there too. Again, you make me feel so high, like again the climbing higher, that like I was saying, that's like the best part of the roller coaster is the kind of anticipation before the drop, right? And there's like a speed element. Maybe that's just me. I'm a little bit of like a speed junkie. I grew up around like race car tracks. I blame that. The adrenaline of that, right? Like it's the anticipation of the drop, of the kind of wait before you like tip over, the fun of it. So I like that we're having some of these vocals that are like flipping up into these really higher ranges, them thinning out their voices to again get that kind of like airy, softer feeling to be like, it's not that bad, don't worry about it. And I think that fits with some of the other things in Party O'Clock, right? Where it felt like they were some of the fairy and of we're going into like a Midsummer Night's Dream imagery and like kind of the enchantment, the spells, the entering into an other world, a kind of like magical world, which they've also had lots of references to with Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan. I also think it's interesting with Peter Pan because it's like a sailing ship, which makes me think of like Captain Hook, and his whole thing is like running away from time. I feel like there's a bunch of stuff there. You think of like fairy and a lot of folk tales and stuff where they're luring people to other worlds, like these magical worlds, the other world. If we're talking about like Celtic beliefs and whatever, but also you get like sailing ships, you get like sirens and stuff where it's like these kind of like singing voices that are like coaxing you out. So it feels like some of that too, of like just like was it Lily who had the line that was like, come here, my dear? I've just been like, just these soft, gentle voices, like don't worry about the fact that there might be consequences. Let's just enjoy the fact that it's fun right now. Don't worry. So I think that it's fun to have these like really soft voices from them. It fits with like the kind of softer sound to the song anyway, but having those higher, very like breathy vocals are just like very like softening out, and there's just something very floaty about the performance that I like. Gorgeous. I know that she's about to hit another note. I can't just let a vocal slide pass, though. I have to go back. I love a vocal slide. Let's go. I knew that the vocals were going to be good. I expect nothing less of NMIXX. I'm just happy. This is a good place. I know that I haven't shown up for NMIXX the way that I wanted to, but I always have a good time when I hear their song. I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to Password. Like, I don't have a number for you because it's just constantly in my rotation. It's always played on like an open tab in my brain. Gorgeous like vocal slide up there, but I love this like feeling like the first time of being like the first time like falling in love or feeling this way of like the anticipation you don't really know what's gonna happen. But I do want to talk about this of the like I fall into a black hole. I think that's very interesting because one, we had the portal at the end of the last music video, but also like black hole is not necessarily like a good thing, right? And it distorts time. So again, we're getting that like time imagery of distorting like realities. I can't be too much of a space nerd about this, I don't think. But like space and time are the same thing. We're not going to go into the logistics of it mathematically, but it's like a distortion of like space and time, and you get into like wormholes, other dimensions, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that comes with black holes, and it's I want to escape this world or this reality, right? I'm seeing some of that imagery. We also had Alice in Wonderland with the rabbit specifically, and like Alice falls down the rabbit hole to get to Wonderland. Also the rabbit's whole thing is that he has the pocket watch and he's like late. So again, we're getting that like time rushing, kind of distorting time and escaping into like other realities and stuff like that. And then I already talked about how Captain Hook and Peter Pan, he's also running away from time because you have the crocodile, right? The like ticks, right? As like the alarm clock. I was also thinking of, we've had references to like other stuff too, and I'm like, they're also time and like there's a bunch of time imagery in a bunch of it anyway because of coming of age stuff. So a lot of it is about like trying to escape that and get away from the fact that time is passing. I think it's interesting to be like falling, and we're talking before about like rising, climbing, being like high, right? Of again like the roller coaster, and then having something like a falling into a black hole is like a very different place, right? So I just think it's interesting to have like some of the darker imagery mixed into some of these like lighter sounds that we're getting. Ooh, I like those vocals come together. Ooh, beautiful vocal run. Ooh, wait, I know we're getting to the end, but there's so many things. I love all these little vocal runs that we're putting in. Like, it's so much fun. Again, like roller coasters, having all these up and downs is really fun. I think too, but like goosebumps is also something that you can get when you're afraid, but also when like you have kind of like giddiness, adrenaline, right? Even if you're thinking about like love or a crush or whatever, you can get like goosebumps. Again, like having dream imagery, talk about like a comet and like shooting stars as well, right? I think it's all very interesting. I also love just the descending on Incredible. It was just like, it's so good. I hear those vocals layered up. Like the muted production. Wow, always good. So many things. I mean, like we're talking about when a lyrics are about like being caught. Yeah, caught in a fantastic moment. I think we're talking about like fantastic, some of the meaning of that. I know that a lot of the time we say something is fantastic in the sense that it's good, right? That we like it, that it's positive. But there's also like you say that something like the fantastical, right, is also just something that is like magical in a way, or otherworldly, or outside of reality, right? It's not necessarily that it's good. You're saying that something is beyond reality or like of the imagination, right? So I think that's it's interesting. I know the translations are going to be what they are, but also caught makes me think back to the black hole imagery because gravity, right? Again, I don't want to be like too much of a space nerd about black hole, but again, like a gravity, like pulling of gravity, you could talk about that in a positive way when you're talking about someone or a feeling or whatever, right? Of like being pulled towards it, but then you can also think of it being bad if you can't escape like a certain gravitational pull, right? Of being like, I'm being pulled into something that I'm not necessarily in control of. And I think that's interesting with things like dreams don't necessarily have to be positive. A lot of time we talk about dreams, it's like to have a dream, or like dreams being this like wonderful, magical bending of reality, distorting possibilities into something that is more like fantastical, right? But nightmares exist, and I don't know about you, but I have a lot of mundane dreams. Just because something is a dream doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, doesn't mean that having that distortion of what is possible is necessarily a good thing. So again, I think it's interesting to have all of this conflicting kind of chaotic feelings all mixing together. Yes, there's kind of the chaos of like the adrenaline of a roller coaster, the ups and downs, enjoying like the ride of something and being lost in that feeling, but there's also the like kind of darker connotation of a roller coaster, or like chaos in general, lacking that control. So I think that it's interesting to have those all kind of mixed together, pun intended, while having this very like soft, bright sounding song. And even at the end there with the distorted vocal, like it's through like a filter, I think is also interesting. Even the like glitching, I was like, we have some like repetition that's happening, and then also the kind of like glitching that's happening where they're actually like doing post on the vocals. I think that's really interesting too, of just like something that is glitching or stuttering or whatever feels like a little bit of a breakdown of like when we say something is like glitching, we say it's not necessarily in a good way, right? So it's a fun, catchy thing to put into the song, but I think that it's also interesting to put into this where you're having that kind of glitching out or repetition, or at the end of the day, a roller coaster goes around in a circle, right? If you can't get off the roller coaster, you're just going around and around, right? So I think that's interesting imagery. And even the distortion is almost through like something that's blocking us between like their voices and us like hearing them. And I think also to the like all the aquatic imagery and the sailing ship at the end of the last music video of this almost like through water, like that distorts sound too. Talking about some of the space imagery with shooting stars, comets, black holes, no sound in space, it's a vacuum, so you can't hear someone except through like radio if you're gonna hear them. There's also a little bit of that feeling of like through like a speaker, but again, it's that like separation. I don't know if I pulled any of that together into something cohesive. I love the song. So good, so catchy, just like floating through part of it with their vocals obviously being incredible. But I do love that we had like a nice switch up between these like really soft breathy vocals, and then sometimes we got more closure in their vocal cords, and it was usually in the darker or a lower part of the range. Sometimes it's a bit of a darker tone when you get like bass vocals and stuff like that. But I think that's also really interesting to have like the highs are very high with this like very soft sound, and then the lows are like a little bit of this darker sound. So again, like that roller coaster imagery. But we have a music video. I don't know about these like accents of the letters, but okay. Feels old school, like on a tape. I love the like roll call their names. There's probably a bunch of stuff there on like their desks. Ooh, okay, so many things. One, I feel like there's probably some stuff going on with the like desks. I know that we had some drawings of like fish or whatever. Anyway, I'm not gonna go through like absolutely everything. I've already been talking for a long time, but I do think it's interesting that we have this feeling of like even the starring, right? With all their names, feels like we're talking about like a movie or a TV show or something, which again is like a work of fiction, right? Is a containment within a fantasy of like you getting to play pretend. If you're acting, you're playing pretend, right? So I think that's interesting. And again, like A Midsummer Night's Dream is a play, right? you are also being performed by actors, and there's also like a bunch of stuff with like spells and people doing stuff that they like normally would be doing. And then we had Bae, like she like closes her eyes and we get like some of that dream feeling to it, right? She like wakes up in like the bleachers instead, but we had like some of that, like again, it looked like we had like a mermaid tail, which I only bring up because the necklace that she has, the heart, makes me think of Little Mermaid. Is it like Ursula has the like necklace that's like holding Ariel's voice? I don't know how much of that's in the original fairy tale, I'm gonna be honest. That's one of the ones I only really know through like the Disneyification of it. Changing yourself or like giving up something to enter like a different world in a lot of ways. And also Prince Eric was like on the boat, which again, boat imagery, sailors. I just think it's interesting. In the book, again, like work of fiction, maybe. Ooh. That's cute, the rabbit. Ooh, okay, looks like that's also the like mermaid. Interesting. I love the like rabbit and then like beauty. It's like, it's so cute. But again, it feels like we're cutting between a lot of different scenes. Some of that is just music videos, but I do think it's interesting with like the band-aid, right? And it's like different between the two scenes, but it is like this kind of like patching up something, right? Like you put a band-aid on something to heal it or cover it up, right? Like it's because there's some kind of like cut or abrasion or whatever, right? And the band-aid is like either to cover it up or to help it heal, right? Or whatever, but you're like kind of hiding that, right? So it also feels like, hey, just pay attention to the fact that this is like fun or like escape or fantasy. We have the book and the play and the, you know, like film. Even we had the Polaroid photos on the desks, right? Like it feels like there's this separation of, hey, just escape into the fantasy, just pretend to be something else, right? Let's just pretend, which again fits into some of that coming of age, like youth, like you think of growing up, you play pretend all the time, right? Where you're just like making up whole worlds while you're just like playing with your friends. So it feels a little bit like that too. I've just been like, pretend that it's fine. Let's just pretend something else and live in the fantasy for a little bit. I'm also noticing that the lyrics here are different from the video. I know when I don't point that out, people are like, hey, it's different. I am paying attention. I understand that like the lyrics here, the translations of it seem to be like a little bit more precise with it. So I just want to acknowledge that I am looking. Even like the window is like looking out from inside. There's like mirroring happening. Mirrors also make me think of like fantasy. Cute. She's adorable. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. That's cute. Ooh, so many things. Okay, first off, the choreography, so cute. The like skip, I love when they have like the hands, right? The almost like airplane or like wings, like bird imagery is really fun too. Like there's a lot of mirroring that's happening. I think some of it's happening like where they're like facing each other. I think it was with like Suyud mainly, right? She had the mermaid imagery happening, which again, you talk about like mermaids, sailors, sirens, right? Like mermaids a lot of the time were considered as like they would like lure sailors into like the rocky shores and stuff. So I feel like I was on something with the sirens, but it was because they'd make you like see or hear things that weren't actually there. Like they would make you see what you wanted to that would like entice you into something that might be dangerous. So it feels again like that of being like, hey, let's live in the fantasy, right? Let's live in just imagining and actually having what we want as opposed to like the realities of what's happening. And it felt like Bae, right, was out of it and not particularly like happy. You feel like, was it too as well that we had the mirroring with Suyun where it was almost like she got them to smile of being like, hey, just copy me and come into this kind of like fantasy with me and it'll make you happier, right? Like you could be happier if you just like forget that there's other things going on and live in the fantasy for a little bit. That's so cute, little like skip. I don't know where we. Ooh, we thought like in like the bathtub too, which is, again, like the mermaid H2O, just add water. Am I dating myself? Maybe a little bit. I want to know what all the books we're reading though. Also, I was gonna say you're the only one with white stockings, but you're not. What are we reading? I don't know. But again, I do think it's interesting to be like, let's escape into fantasy or like fiction. I love it too. Ooh, see, that's interesting too, the like covering the eyes of being like almost don't see what's going on with the folded paper as well. It makes me think of, I don't know exactly what it is, but like the folding up like a message or like hiding something away. I'm thinking of doing a bunch of that as like growing up with like little like paper like crafts or whatever, like origami obviously, but it also makes me think of, I don't know if we have any like bird or like a something. I'm sorry, I'm investigating if we have like birds, because I was like, it's almost like we have the bird imagery with the like flying, the dance move of like the going down, going up, right? It's like a bird or plane or whatever. But isn't there also the, I don't know how this translates to like Korea, but isn't there like the like paper cranes where you can make a wish, right? And there's like other things where it's like if you make enough, is it jars or whatever? Like there's a whole thing where if you make enough like origami or like a specific like paper craft, like you can make certain wishes. So again, we have the like shooting star that's also making wishes, right? Living in a fantasy is making wishes, right? Having a siren or a mermaid show you what you most desire is like a wish that you want to come true, right? So there's all of that kind of like building up on itself. Like this is gonna be, we cannot escape the water. I'm the vocal, but also this is like them, like again, it seems like Bae is the one that we're like trying to coax along. She's being like pulled into the water, like yes, it's through the lens of, hey, we're just like, we're fun, we're having fun in the pool or whatever, but it's also someone was like literally like holding her, bringing her in. And also again, we have the black hole, like the swallowed up by like the black hole or whatever. You also think of like the depths of like the ocean, right, of like what it's seen as like another world, because there's a bunch of stuff there that we do not know about and I'm not anxious about it at all. But it's also like falling, there's like depths to that as opposed to all this imagery of like stars and skies, and like that might be what you want and that might be what you're fantasizing about, right? Of being like, I can like dream of these great heights, or like daydreaming, you say like you're looking up into the sky or the clouds or the stars or whatever. But then the reality is that by doing that through this lens of like a fantasy or imagining, you're actually like sinking and you don't even like fully know. So I think that's interesting to have that. And again, like it's just fun to have water pool kind of imagery. One, because they have the aquatic stuff going on, and two, because it's like summertime. But I do think it's interesting that as we're talking about, like we even have this like high note where it's like the slide up into like the heavens of like vocal range, and at that moment we have this like sinking right into like this pool, even though it's not sinister in the way that it's being set up in the music video. But I do think it's interesting to like literally have those two things like opposing each other. The choreography. Wait, I'm sorry. I was watching the choreography. Like, I'm sorry. Focus. Cute. You are a mermaid. All a dream. By herself. And dark. With like the tree? Plant? Wait! Wait! We have a map. School. Waters? Tell our secret. What's scratched out? Tell your secret. We had them whispering. We had the notes. Right? I think of like notes being kind of like past notes in class with like your friends and stuff. Tell me the answer, which was like fun. I just did the map again, like escaping. But also, okay, a few things. One, lyrics being different. We have like seized by a fantastic. Again, like before it was like different wording, but again, like seized is like they grabbed, right? Which again feels different. Even the like sweating, and then it's like the goosebumps, right, of like breathing and everything like that again makes you think, is that fear or excitement? And those can go hand in hand with both things, and then like mixing together, and we have all of this kind of like friendship and fun and like camaraderie and playing pretend, and then at the end we're by ourselves in like this darkness, which we had also near the beginning. It's darker at the beginning, but also here again, like the classroom, you can see the window. Wasn't it also Suyun? So again, those two feel linked a lot in this, right? The like mermaid versus maybe like the reality, right? Again, like mermaid feels like transformation, even though I was talking before about Ariel, right? Like transforming from like the human world versus being like a mermaid and wanting that transformation between the two, giving up your voice to do that, right? A bunch of symbolism with that. Even I think her necklace is like a heart as well, right? I feel like there's probably so many things. Even in A Midsummer Night's Dream, you get like Titania, right? Queen of the Fairies, queen, a bunch of like power, authority, and everything, gets a spell put on her. She falls in love with someone that she would not have fallen in love with otherwise. So it's the spell makes you see this person as wonderful and amazing, and you're in love. It's not actually what you think, right? Like the spell breaks and you're like, ooh, actually no. And even that, she falls in love with Bottom. Yes, that is like an intentional name because it is a comedy. Bottom is one of the like actors, one of the players. So he's like an actor, he pretends, right? So even that is, there's a bunch of symbolism in that with the story. Eventually though, the reason, the way that everything is concluded in the story is like this, all the spells are broken, right? All the magic is gone and everyone ends up where they're supposed to be. So I think that's also interesting for this, where it feels like the spell kind of breaking and where you end up is like kind of this darker reality that is more like isolating, right? I feel like there's probably so many other things. I feel like there's so many like little Easter eggs with the posters back here, like the locker, even like the shooting star was on like a post-it note or something in the locker as well. So there's probably so many other things, like the books, the stuff up in like the bedroom wall or whatever. Let me know down in the comments what the like kind of thoughts and theories and things are. Even like the pictures, again, like a Polaroid or a picture is like not the whole story, right? Like it's a snapshot of a moment. It's not like everything that happened in that moment. You can smile for a photo and be miserable, right? It's a lot easier to smile for a second to get that photo than to like actually be happy. So I think that there's a lot of different symbolism of pretending and living in a fantasy and like trying to escape from reality that isn't what you want. Like it's more isolated, it's more like it's darker, it's more complicated. I think that all comes with, again, that coming of age story of it's so much easier to just like not be disenchanted. Even that's the word that I used of coming of age. A lot of it is disenchantment and realizing that this like bubble that you've lived in is nowhere near what the world has in store for you, and there's just so much going on. So I feel like there's a lot of that symbolism here too. So many good things in this. I think that there's so many complications in this, and I think that's what I like about this song. Like, one, great song, phenomenal vocals from all of them, obviously. Choreo also looks so fun for this one, but I think it's the fact that it has a bunch of these kind of darker connotations buried within this like like really happy song, and not any like, I feel like having a really upbeat sounding song with like darker lyrics is something that I've definitely heard before, but this one feels like the like sinister kind of edge is like far more buried underneath of it, right? Like it isn't this blatant, hey, here are all the things that I'm like struggling with. It's like the little things that just feel off. And I think that fits a lot better for something that's like a dream. A lot of the time when you realize that something is a dream, or you're in a dream, is because there's just something wrong with it and you like can't put your finger on it. Or even within these like pieces of literature that they're referencing in a bunch of their stuff, it looks really nice on the surface and then you realize what's going on. Even the like siren, mermaid, right? It's like it's giving you exactly what you want, right? You can tell like kind of your subconscious that there's like something darker happening. There's something kind of lurking underneath of that. And I think that's what this song does really well. Like even the one lyric change that I saw from the video that I checked out versus like the music video was the like, how are you feeling? So incredible, right? Like even that is, I don't know, that feels like an exaggeration, right? To be like so incredible is like you're overselling it, right? Like, you're not just fine, you're incredible. And that feels like you're hiding behind something, or that it's something artificial, like that it's being exaggerated so much. And even that within the performance that they're giving of like all of these kind of like smiles and this really like bouncy choreography, right? Like there's a lot of this kind of like bounce and skip and like then like holding hands and like being like rabbit and everything. There's something very playful about that choreography that fits with like a younger girl group as well, but it also is like a, hey, we're doing all these fun, cute things in this performance. Don't pay attention to the fact that there's a bunch of like darker stuff lurking and this is all just pretend, right? It feels like that as well. Even like this music video felt a lot more grounded. Like I think that it would be so easy for something like this to like really swing into the fantasy realm, but I feel like this is so much more based in reality, like visually, than some of their other music videos where they did have a bunch of graphics or exaggerated like sets and like these really bright, vibrant colors, like things that you get a lot in K-pop. And when they were like referencing more specifically like Wizard of Oz, and that was like one of the ones I was trying to think of earlier, Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, bright colors, right? Wizard of Oz, the film, everything is in black and white until she gets to like the land of Oz. And even then too, we have again the heart pendant. It makes me think of Tin Man, right? Because it's like that silvery color, and his whole thing was like he's trying to find his heart. He had his heart the whole time. So I think that's also interesting imagery. But again, having that like really bright imagery to these like make-believe places, and then this one feeling a lot more grounded within reality of this like school setting. And yes, there was definitely some saturation in the coloring, but it felt a little bit more grounded in reality and like intentionally playing around with that saturation. The most colors are when they're just like playing pretend or like in the pool. I think that's one of the brightest parts of it, is them like being in that pool together, and you've got kind of bright colors in their outfits and everything, and then the color kind of gets pulled out into this much darker setting when Bae was by herself at the end. So I think that those are all very like intentional to make this something more grounded in reality of, yes, you can pretend and be in this dream or whatever, but like you can't fully escape the reality. And even sometimes as you get older, the kind of like fantasy or dream isn't that exaggerated, right? You don't want to escape to like a completely different world. You just want something to be better in your current reality, right? It becomes less about, I want to like be an astronaut and escape to like another planet and I'm going to meet aliens or whatever. I want to go to the fantasy world. I love a good fantasy. I would love to go to Hobbiton. But as you get older, a lot of it is like, hey, I would just like to like not be alone. It would be great if I had somebody to talk to about this. It'd be great if like I could smile and laugh and not have this thing affect me, right? Like that's a lot of the stuff that comes up when you're older, of like when you want to fantasize about what would be like a better life. It's not as exaggerated. It's much more based in your own reality, but like better, right? Or what you think is better. So I think that's all really interesting, like imagery to have put into the song and the lyrics and everything, and just like great song anyway. Loved it. Clearly I have talked too long. I had a lot of things to say this time, and I've got a little like catching up to do with NMIXX anyway, but I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe. So next time I post an NMIXX reaction, I will see you in the next video. Bye.